After years of analysts and finance media seeming to entirely ignore what was brewing with Tesla autonomy, now all of a sudden, we're seeing things like this. Robotaxi, Tesla autonomy, Austin, June. Let's see what this analyst has to say.
Let's talk more about the automakers with DVX Ventures co-founder and partner Kareem Bousta. Kareem oversaw the worldwide services and customer experience segment at Tesla and ran operations at Lyft. Kareem, thanks for being with us. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Really interesting race we've got set up. Sarah mentioned sort of the head start that Waymo has, but there's a lot on the line for Tesla next week. How much do you think this different strategy on technology can help them catch up, if at all?
Well, I think we have to look at what is going to happen in the next few weeks with the lens of understanding two things. One is the pilot that Tesla is launching next week is likely to be very small in nature, very low scale, and frankly, very, very likely to succeed. Because we're talking of a limited pilot, limited scope in defined neighborhoods with a lot of constraints that are put into the system.
So far, so good. Tesla will start very small, only where they're extremely confident, as we know. As soon as there's a single incident involving an autonomous Tesla vehicle, you know what's going to happen in the media, right? They're going to have a fucking field day. Of course, that's not why Tesla will be super conservative. The reason they'll actually start slow and small is because their number one priority has always been safety. Hence, they produce the safest vehicles ever tested as measured by probability of injury in a collision. What's worth tracking, however, isn't the initial scale of Tesla's fleet of autonomous vehicles, which will be recent Model Ys operating in Austin, but in the coming quarters, how quickly they're able to scale throughout other pockets of Austin and then other cities in the United States and beyond. The next sort of 6 to 18, maybe 24 months will be extremely telling.
So it's very feasible with the technology and the level that Tesla has achieved to be able to give a few hundred rides per week in a safe and reliable way. The real proof for Tesla will be to see how fast they're able to ramp this and if they're on a pace, on a path to be able to catch up to Waymo. For comparison, Waymo is currently giving 250,000 rides every week in fully autonomous robotaxis.
That's a pretty big number. Although, putting it in context, roughly 38,000 rides per day, or an average of less than 1,500 rides per hour. Obviously, that's not going to be literally per hour. There'll be peak times and off-peak times. And if we divide it further, it's roughly 25 rides per minute, assuming a constant stream 24 hours a day. Now, that might sound like a lot, but the question you want to ask yourself is, how many Tesla robotaxis would need to be operating? How big would their fleet need to be to, in theory, be averaging 25 rides per minute, every hour, every day? I don't want to get too nerdy with the numbers here. I'll put everyone to sleep if I haven't already. But if you want to continue this exercise, all you need to really do is think about what's the average length of a trip in a Tesla robotaxi. Pick your number or do some homework and find out what a typical trip length is in terms of time. Miles is irrelevant in this case. We're talking about how long does it actually take to complete the fare. And then additionally, how much time does it take to get to a fare and to get to the next fare? Because they're not always going to be occupied, obviously. Figure out a ballpark number of Tesla robotaxis that would need to be operating to match Uber. Spoiler alert, the number is a lot smaller than most people would expect. So when you hear a number like 250,000 rides per week, it is a big number, but it's actually able to be achieved with an extremely small fleet of vehicles. And I'm talking like 1,000-ish, give or take, maybe worst case a little bit more. You could round it up, say 2,000-ish. But again, do the homework yourselves, figure it out. It's not that big of a number.
So the question is, it's not whether Tesla will be able to launch next week with a limited size pilot, but whether they'll be able to catch up and put themselves on a trajectory where they can catch up to the hundreds of thousands of rides per week that Waymo is currently doing.
Right. So what's more important, sort of being aggressive and narrowing the spread, or doing no harm, as you seem to suggest?
I think the most important, and Elon alluded for Tesla, Elon alluded to it a few weeks ago, is to bring the service in a safe and reliable way. Because at the second you lose the trust of the consumers and the regulators, you put the whole program at risk. So safety and reliability are going to be key, even if it means going slower, which means longer time for Tesla to catch up.
Have you been impressed with the degree to which Waymo has taken share, even in certain markets like San Francisco?
Yeah, I must say this has been very impressive for me. I used to be in the Silicon Valley in California and San Francisco, seeing from the early days, 7 or 8 years ago, the beginning of the Waymo journey, and seeing how quickly they've been able to solve self-driving at scale, and now bring it up into a service that is reliable, that is safe, that customers enjoy is really impressive.
You do have to give credit to Waymo, although not operating at a massive scale. Just a few pockets of a few cities, but hey, it's a good start. Generally, the vehicles are safe and fairly reliable, but they are imperfect. One of the major flaws with Waymo's technology, on screen now, with a very narrow form of intelligence, Waymo vehicles, at least as I record this, I'd probably say kind of like an autistic savant, quite capable in certain conditions and not so in others. A human driver, at least with an IQ of 85 plus, would see the road inundated, flooded, and go, yeah, nah, not a good idea. I'm not going to drive there. Waymo vehicle, regardless of its 29,000 different sensors, LiDAR, radar, and a fuck ton of cameras, straight into a fucking flooded road. And then what happens? Stopped. That's unsafe. It's also embarrassing. But there are still incidents like this today. Now, unlike Waymo, Tesla trains their vehicles with examples of good human drivers, lots of them, at massive scale. You know what a good human driver does when they see this coming up? With their eyes, their cameras, their brain, their neural net goes, yeah, nah, not a good idea, not driving into that, I'll go somewhere else. With enough examples, you're not going to see Tesla vehicles doing like this because they've been trained based on good human driving behavior. By the way, feel bad for the fucking passenger in there. What are you going to do, bruv? That's a tough one. And again, I'm not here to roast Waymo for the sake of roasting Waymo. Just pointing out that there still are some major flaws with the so-called technology, intelligence, or lack thereof. As long as nothing changes, everything's fine. But as soon as a Waymo vehicle encounters something novel, like a flooded road, you'll see shit happen like this. Thankfully, I'm sure the person in the vehicle was fine. It's not like it was 6 feet deep. Probably just got some wet feet. However, on screen now, this is much more of a problem. A recurring problem, in fact, something that's infuriated a lot of residents in San Francisco. Low IQ Waymo vehicles encountering emergency vehicles and blocking their way. I mean, maybe they could just add some more LiDAR so they could recognize what a fucking fire truck is and get the fuck out of the way. Now, this is a major problem you guys have to understand. People can die when there are delays for emergency vehicles getting by, right? This Waymo vehicle right here, with the fire truck behind it, stopped in the middle of the fucking intersection. Again, a human driver, even with an IQ of like just enough to get a driver's license, knows what to do when there's an emergency vehicle approaching behind. Get the fuck out of the way, you fucking idiot. But unfortunately, Waymo vehicle, despite how many sensors it has no fucking idea. Now, the question is, was the at least probably 30 plus seconds, and this is assuming that the video didn't start much prior to this actual issue beginning, 30 plus seconds of lost time, could that cost somebody's life? And the answer is, in enough cases like this, yes, this will actually cost lives. Notice, by the way, we ain't done. There's a second emergency vehicle coming up behind the Waymo, and what does it do this time? First one passes, second vehicle approaching, Waymo's just sitting there in the fucking road, goes forward a little bit, then slams its brakes on, and so too does the emergency vehicle. This is not great, is it? So how does Tesla address this? Number one, vision. Lots of training data based on real-world examples of what good human drivers do. And number two, a microphone to actually hear emergency vehicles. Sounds like a pretty simple solution, right? So back to the point. Waymo doing well. With some major flaws, you'll see very little coverage of any of the failures of Waymo vehicles in the media, though. Doesn't get the same attention or clicks as anything to do with Elon and or Tesla. But Waymo has a fundamentally flawed technological approach. And we've just seen a few very clear and obvious failures. But putting aside the technology, they are going to get absolutely smoked by Tesla. They also have a massive cost disadvantage. And Tesla's mission, very clearly articulated, is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, which means as they scale their fleet of autonomous vehicles, they will, make no mistake, listen carefully, motherfuckers, they will lower their cost per mile to use their service as fast as they reasonably can, while maintaining two things. One, a reasonable profit margin, but because they have a massive cost advantage to actually produce the vehicle, they're going to have great margins at really low prices. And two, maintain reasonable wait times. Tesla's going to scale and saturate market after market, in my opinion. Put as many vehicles as they need to into a market to ensure they have reasonable wait times, drive the cost down, add more vehicles until they saturate, and move on to the next market. Meaning, Waymo and other companies offering transport as a service, whether it's with a driver or without, will need to match Tesla on pricing, or most customers are going to choose the comparable but much more affordable option, which would be produced by Tesla. Waymo does not have a very bright future.
And I think they have another advantage compared to Tesla, and that's the partnership they've entered with Uber in the new markets like Austin and Atlanta. That gives them, we see that this gives them an ability to accelerate the adoption. And it's a very powerful partnership with Uber bringing the operational excellence at scale, the knowledge and the expertise for how to run this type of operations and their decade of experience with the technology and the self-driving technology that Waymo is bringing. So very impressed and very confident about Waymo's ability to continue on that path.
Well, my spidey sense is tingling, and I don't know for sure, but I've got a hunch that this guy, who was introduced as like a capital manager, I think, or something previously, worked at Tesla and Lyft, may possibly have an investment in Alphabet and probably also Uber. Now, the Uber strategy seems to be do nothing yourself and massively increase your costs. They don't make vehicles themselves. They pay another company using Jaguar I-Pace and then have to install sensors. And why build a platform yourself, even though you're starting at an extremely low scale? So how hard could it possibly be? Just partner with a company like Uber instead, aka much higher cost. I mean, Uber's not going to want to do this for free, just like Jaguar producing the I-Pace being sold to Waymo doesn't do it for free either. Again, massive cost disadvantage. Sounds good on paper. Oh yeah, we'll just outsource everything and do nothing ourselves. But when you're competing with a company called Tesla, who is extremely vertically integrated and doing everything themselves, meaning they're going to have a massive cost advantage, and their mission statement makes it clear they're going to pass cost savings on as fast as they can, meaning cost per mile is going to go down rapidly, you're in big fucking trouble. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.